Okay, good morning everyone. Welcome to the class today. It's my great pleasure today to welcome and introduce Petroula Karagianni, that she will be doing the lecture today. Petroula is a colleague and a partner that comes from Athens. She doesn't have a computer science background, and I think that's very interesting because probably she's the only person in this room without a computer science background. But she has a very interesting and diverse background in many different things. I won't discuss this today. One of the things that she helps a lot in this class is basically with the classes on soft skills. And today we will have the first of these classes. Especially on various topics related on how to work productively on a team and things that we all deal in our careers and lives in general. And also Petroulas is an expert in design thinking, which is also a big part of this class, and she will be a mentor as we will also discuss next week on Monday's course, that will help on mentoring the groups that will be working on the design thinking challenges. Okay, so we will see Petroula again. We will see her next Monday. So without further delay, Petroula, thanks a lot, and I'm looking forward to the lecture.
Thank you. Καλημέρα, good morning to everybody. I'm Petroula. I live and work in Athens, and my background is on business, management and business, and my master's is on educational leadership. And in the past year, since I started working, I've been working with organizations in academia and in smaller not-for-profits or larger organizations in order to help them develop their internal processes and their innovation processes. At the same time, one of my passions is actually working with young people in leadership development training. And I've been lucky enough to be and also work with different teams, either nationally or internationally, in Greece and in other countries. So the topic today is something that Yes, great. It's very interesting for me. It is something that I love, and it's something that is also very relevant for everybody that is at the university, that is doing a master's, a graduate program, or someone that actually wants to start his or her career. And that is working with teams and working with other people. And a lot of people think that, I'm very smart, I'm very intelligent, I know everything, I can do everything on my own, I don't need anyone. But the truth is that at some point in our lives, we all work with other people, and in order to improve the impact of our work, we also need to be able to work efficiently with other people, not just survive, let's say, the day. So we thought that working in teams is a skill that is, and that these are ants, yes, you're correct. So we thought that working in teams is a skill that is necessary for everybody, for someone that is young or older, exactly because it's something that, as we've seen also in the business field, or in our careers later on, is something that can be a competitive advantage for someone that is really good at it. Working in teams is something that we also think it's going to be very useful for you in the course of this course, in this semester, and it's going to help you have more fun with during the course too. So let's start getting an idea. Opa, great. My hand is not very stable.
Very sensitive, I guess.
It's very sensitive, yeah. And my finger is a little bit shaky. Okay, so I'll look at that. So we thought that is going to be an interesting start for the soft skills that we're going to be discussing. As we go through it, if you have any questions or any remarks, then just raise your hand and we can discuss them. Okay. So let's go and have a quick look at the first video that's going to introduce us a little bit to this point. Maybe you've seen it, and it's going to actually show us a little bit the benefits that come from working in a team in a fun way.
It's smarter to travel in groups.
That's an advertisement, obviously, of the travel company. Great. Okay. So we've all been in teams. Like I'm sure you've been in sports, or in a team in your university where you did an assignment, or in another project. So we all have some experience of what it actually, how it's great, if it is great to work in a team, or if some things are actually not working so great with us when we're a team. And there's a lot of reasons for that. There's different types of teams that you will see, that you've been probably part of. There are teams that gather in order to solve just a problem and then they stop existing. There are teams that are functional. So let's say an IT department in a company, it's a functional team that has a very specific job description, and they have a very specific job to do every day. There is can be a virtual team, one person working here, one in Singapore, and another one in New York. And as technology advances, this becomes more and more the norm, more and more the normal. And actually to be able to work efficiently in a team where you don't see someone every day and you don't see their face expressions and their reactions, when you discuss something with them, that's also something really interesting and really challenging sometimes. There is teams that are self-managed, that they haven't appointed, let's say, a team leader because they're experienced and they work in a very easy and smooth way, and they can make the decisions that they want in a very easy way. And there's also cross-functional teams, which is also something that we see much more often now, or matrix teams, as they're called, where there is different people from different teams where they just come together in order to become part of the project, and then without though moving from the initial teams that they were. So they are coming from different functions, they come from different backgrounds, they have different experiences, and for a very specific purpose, they come together to actually to form a team and complete the project that they have. Now, one of the things that I really... this is afterwards. Okay. So, teams are passing through different stages when they're getting formed. This is a theory that has existed for 40 to 50 years now. And the funny thing is that it's actually still valid. And even though it may not be a linear process, and there could be teams that go back and forth in some of these stages, this is something that we do see in practice happening. And if you look back in your team experiences, you might also recognize it. Either, again, it was as part of a sport, a hobby that you did, or an assignment, for example, that you work together with someone else. So at the beginning we have 10 different people or 5 different people coming together where they try to agree and discuss and actually understand what is the purpose that they have in front of them. And it is very normal at the beginning that the team is not extremely clear about the end result, and they're a little bit confused, and they don't know what exactly direction to take. So this is the first part that we call the forming. And at that point, it's very normal also that different ideas come up, different opinions, and there is a little bit of friction between the team, amongst the team members. Because each one has a different idea, a different opinion, and their roles also may not be very clear yet. They may not be clear about what's my role in the team, what is my objective, what I'm supposed to do, etc. A lot of teams at the storming phase stop existing. They dissolve, let's say, because they think, or because the friction is just so big, and they say, oh my God, I cannot work with that person, we cannot communicate, or they pass through it and they say, okay, we discuss it, we're open with it, we bring all the issues that we have in front, and we pass to the next level where we say that we have a very clear mission, we have a clear purpose as a team, and this is what drives us. And we're going to work through it in a way. It's like a relationship, as any other kind of relationship that we're going through. The norming part is when things start to get clearer, things start to get smoother, and my team member learns the things that make me angry, the things that make me smile, the things that make me comfortable and uncomfortable. And we work through this process together. We understand each other, we understand the background that each one of us is coming, and we try and focus on our end result, working through our differences and the diversity that exists in the team. When the team passes through that phase, usually this is where the team is at top performance. This is where the team knows exactly what they are meant to do, what they are meant to be delivering, and when. The roles are very clear, the policies that the team has had are implemented and are followed, and this is where normally the team reaches its goals, and then it dissolves, it finishes, it reaches its objective, and it finishes the goal that they had in front of them. Now, it doesn't mean that this team structure or development is something, or process is something that happens linear. As I said before, it can be times that the team goes back into some stages. It could be that a team is performing really well and suddenly something happens that hasn't come up until then. They go back to the storming phase, and they need to sit down and solve their issues again, etc. Now, why is this important to understand if we are part of a team or if we are leading a team? Mainly is because this helps us understand that a few things that happen in each stage, they are normal. They happen because it is the normal process that people that come together need to go through in order to develop each other, help each other develop, and proceed to their mission and complete their task. One of my favorite people is, and I'm sure for a lot of you, is Michael Jordan. He's admired for a lot of different things, and he's been a role model for a lot of young kids around the world, or professionals, of course, around the world. And he's one of the people that has understood the value of the team, even though he's an exceptional, talented individual. And for this quote actually for me shows the value and the impact that can come through someone by working in a team. But someone that is exceptional as an individual, but is actually the best in the world when it comes together with other exceptional individuals. We started thinking about the benefits in the team. Again, a lot of things may sound very normal to you, and you have experienced, you have seen a lot of these, or if you go back and reflect to your experiences, you will probably click with some of them. It's a common saying that the whole is stronger than the parts, and this is one of the benefits of working in a team. It also helps to increase the impact that a team can have, because you actually have a lot of different experiences, backgrounds, expertise that is coming together and is united to a common purpose. It probably also creates a way that is more flexible and more efficient for a project to work, and it's also more balanced for the team, for the people that work in the team to work and deliver on the project. Now, a lot of people say, that's great, but a lot of times, and I've seen it from myself, a lot of times teams can be tiring too. I can do this on my own in 10 minutes, but just because I'm in a team, I need to work with other people, and that takes me like an hour. Why should I lose time and actually spend the time to work through the project with someone, to make him or her understand my point of view, or listen to the other person? Why would I do that and listen and lose so much time? And these are some of the disadvantages that we do have in mind when we're asked or put to work in a team. And most of them have, actually the first one has it's a matter of efficiency, a lot of people say. I can do this in 10 minutes on my own. If you put me in a team, I'll do it in an hour. Time is precious. I don't have so much time to waste. So leave me alone, I'll do this on my own. A lot of people also don't feel comfortable with that, with the storming phase, if you remember the previous slide, when you need to solve or to go through the difficulties in the team. A lot of people don't feel comfortable with that because they have their own reasons. It's something that they don't feel that they can personally go through at that point of time in their lives, and they say, I don't want all this drama in my life. I will do this on my own again. And a lot of introvert characters, including myself, we don't like spending all the time with other people. It's as simple as I can put it. I love working with other people and I love being around people, but there are some times that it just needs to be in my notebook or my laptop, and I don't want someone to be over my shoulder or next to me all the time. And this is something that should be respected, and not just because I'm here and I'm asking you to respect, me being an introvert. I'm not saying because of that. But being in a group doesn't also mean that you don't have any personal space or any private space, or that you all the time need to work with someone else. It means that when you need someone else to help you with something, there is someone that is standing next to you. And if you want to hear someone else's view or see how you can develop yourself, then there is someone next to you. You're not alone. And when you find yourself in a time of trouble, as the song says, then you can also rely on someone else to help you. And there is also a very regular phenomenon, which is called culture misfit. And this is number one reason for a lot of people leaving their jobs, choosing to change a role in another company, another team, etc. And this is something that usually we don't give so much, let's say, importance to it until we find ourselves in a situation, and we say, okay, I learn a lot from this role. It's a great job. I earn enough, but there's something in the culture of the team, where the culture being the sum of the policies and the way that the team works, that doesn't fit with me for some reason. And that is something that is a very important reason for a lot of people to change jobs or look for another job, or say, like Google doesn't fit me, for example, for some reason, or SAP doesn't fit me, or something like that. I'll go and look for something else. This is very regular, and it happens in quite a lot of situations. So when thinking of great teams, I'm, I guess, a little bit older than some of you. So in 2004, when the Greek national team of soccer won the Euro 2004, and for me that's a great example of a great team. So I'm sure a lot of people will say, or will probably agree on that. And I thought of not putting any other team like Panathinaikos or Olympiakos, because the discussion would obviously derail. But I thought of this team as something that we can, let's say, commonly agree that it was a good team, right? More or less. Okay, well, no, we agree. Okay. So for those of you that remember, I hope there is someone in the room that remembers, what do you think that made that team great? From what you remember, what you've read, what you see, perhaps? Any ideas? Do you see any people that you know in this picture? Aside from that. Huh? The coach, correct? Somewhere in the center. There is the team leader also. And then it's the rest of the team. I think probably it's also the assistant of the coach. Do you think that the team would be... What do you think was the coach's contribution, let's say, in the success of that team? Did he do anything useful? Yes.
So I think everybody had a role in this team. So the coach, everybody was saying that I'm not a football expert, but everybody was agreeing that the coach was very effective in leading the team. I think one of the characteristics of this team was that everybody had a role, knew basically what was his role in the group.
Mm-hmm. Sure. What do you think would happen to the team if everybody was like Zagorakis? You're laughing. Why? What do you think would happen?
Zagorakis was the team chief, I think.
Yes.
But then everybody will be selfish.
Mm-hmm.
They learn to work effectively on a team and collaborate. It's thinking for each other, passes the ball, etc. Football stuff. And with a bit of luck, because we had luck,
yes, sure.
we managed to achieve the goal and get the challenge.
Do you remember any other players that were on that team? Like Charisteas and the role that he played? there was the slogan at that time, because obviously the coach was German. You know, like, ο Έλληνας θέλει, μάλλον, θέλει το Γερμανό, from an old ad. So this team is a good example of a few things. First of all, that yes, as it was mentioned, every team needs to have some people that have a specific role, has a specific structure. The chief had a specific role. The coach did not go into the field and play. He was just, you know, trying to coach them from the side, obviously. And each one of them had a very specific position in the team, and they respected that. You didn't see them; they were playing, I think, with the system. And they were, you know, saying, you know, I'm not going to go into the area that my team colleague goes. I have my space, and I'm going to play the role that I'm very good at. Also, this team didn't have people with the same skills, obviously, right? Each one is perfect because they're perfectly put in the position that they would do the best. You wouldn't have neither everybody with the same skills, not everybody playing in all positions. So that's another good point about working in a team efficiently, that we're not the same, we don't have the same skills or the same competencies or the same expertise, but each one of us is put in a place where we can bring our strengths out, we can perform the best for the team. Now, what do you think would happen if, you know, half of the team was saying, okay, our final goal is to go to the quarterfinals. That's it, you know. That's, if we go there, I'm going to be the happiest person in the world. And the rest of the team was saying, okay, if we win the next game, we're lucky, and you know, that would be enough. Do you think that they would still reach the winning? They would still win the Euro? I think not. I assume. Even though there was a lot of luck, as your colleague said, I think not. I think they would, you know, this mismatch of purposes, of ambition, of where we want to go, that would create a different understanding of what the final purpose is, and would actually have them put different kind of effort into achieving the final goal. Now, another thing that I see looking at this team, I don't know if you see a bunch of very, very serious people that have just won the Euro Cup, and they're, you know, very serious about celebrating it. I also see some people having a lot of fun and enjoying, like small kids with their victory, and you know, rolling on the grass and things like that. So for me, this is another very, very good example because of that, because they saw their victory and they achieved their purpose and their objective and their vision and their dream, but they also had fun in the process, and they enjoyed their victory like small kids. Yeah. Okay, so there is a few things that come out from this example. If you look at this team, or if you look at any other team, I don't know which teams do you support? Greece or outside of Greece? Panathinaikos? Someone else outside of Panathinaikos? No. Okay. Manchester United, someone must be following. Ofi. Okay. So there is a few things that are really, really important in teams. And if you observe teams, you will probably see the same points coming, reoccurring. So one of them is interdependent. And I love this word because it shows two things. One, that someone is independent, is a separate individual, a separate exceptional individual, or very, very good at what he or she does. But at the same time, there is a very, very close relationship and dependence on each other. And that is like a key point for having great team dynamics. When you have great people that recognize the unique value that they bring in the team, but they also recognize that when working together, listening to each other, going through the difficulties together, and having someone to rely on, they need someone else in order to become all of them together better than what they are as an individual. The other very clear point that comes from all teams is that they have a very clear objective. They have a very clear goal. If the goal is not clear, then there's a lot of risks that come. That one will be working for this and the other person will be working for that with different sets or standards of quality, with different time schedules or timelines, etc. Imagine that you come together as a team to work for an assignment, as you will for this course, and half of the team says, I'm happy with 5. I'm happy if I pass it, and then you have the other, which probably be fine. But if the rest of the team says, no, I'm going to strive for a 10, then you'll probably have some discussions within the team. Or if someone says, my goal is to always deliver 2 days before the deadline, and the other person gets really motivated to work if he or she works in the last hours before the deadline. These are small things that can create, some discussion, some friction in the team, and it is very good to be solved when the team comes together and they're saying, okay, how are we going to work through this? Are we a team that's going to deliver 2 days before the deadline, or are we a team that is going to deliver on 11:59, let's say, in the evening? And you have all that clear set from the beginning, so that you also know how to allocate your time, the standards of quality that you're going to, put as a goal, etc. Social and task cohesiveness, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this in the correct way, but there is a reason and a need for the team to be united towards the task that they have in front of them and approach it in a similar way. Doesn't mean that they are the same people and they approach it in the same way, but they have, as we said before, similar standards of quality, similar ways that they want to go and work through that. Another important thing is roles. Who is going to be? Is there going to be a team leader? Is there going to be someone that is going to be coordinating the deliverables of the team? Is that clear that that person is a team leader? Are we comfortable with that, or we just want everybody to have the same role exactly and not assign someone that responsibility? And what are the policies that our team wants to have? Do we want to work in the evenings? Do we want to work in the morning? Do we want to work weekends? Not. Do we think that having a discussion every day about how we are and how the previous day was and how we feel, is that important for the team? Or we just go straight to work? These are things that are also interesting to work out as a team and have them discussed, let's say, in a way. And communication. Communication is another very critical point, which is missed a lot of times, not only in business relationships, but also in personal relationships. I'm sure we have an experience of that, where we say one thing and the other person understands another thing. When we miss to communicate a few things because we think that the other person will understand, will know what is happening in our heads, things like that. And this is also one of the reasons why a lot of teams fail. Miscommunication, wrong communication, not enough communication, etc. Especially when things go wrong. There is a lot of examples in teams when, and that has a lot to do with the personal character of someone. For example, I had a colleague that, saying that something was wrong in the project, in the timeline that she was working, it was as if admitting that she had failed as a person forever and ever. So she was, trying to hold things, not communicate about the difficulties that she was facing, until the situation would reach to a point that there was like disaster almost. And she didn't do that because she didn't want to communicate or because she didn't see the value in theory, but she thought that if she would do that, it would make her be seen as weak and not as good as her colleagues and not as competent as her colleagues. So that was a huge learning for the rest of the team to do two things. One, how do we actually foresee such events from happening, and how actually do we help our colleague of, feeling secure in the team to share at any point of time the things that trouble her and think that may take the team out of the course. So there is a double role there for the individual, but also for the team to help have a very good flow in communication. One key person is the team leader. The team leader is someone that can be assigned or can come from the team if the team decides that someone would like to represent them, for example, for some reason. Team leadership or leadership doesn't come for me by role. It comes by specific, let's say, attitudes or ways of approach that someone has on a specific task. And let me try to explain that in a language which is understandable. So someone can be a team member, but be assigned to have a very specific task and is fully responsible for delivering that in the best way. That is a leader. That is a person that has a responsibility and has the authority, let's say, or the responsibility to deliver that part of his job in the best way. And he or she can be very good at it, or he can also be not good at it, because we are all learning through that, and we need to go through some experiences in order to become better. But in teams, usually in most cases, and especially in less experienced teams, you would find that, or in more experienced teams as well, depending on the task, you would find that there's someone that needs to represent the team for efficiency, or also that needs to make final decisions about something. And this is usually the role of the team leader, which is very, very, very useful and very also a great learning process for the person that is in that position. There is some interesting. So the team members now. Irrespective of, I think, the age that we all will be and are a part of different teams. And being a good team member doesn't mean only doing my job in the best way possible. And it doesn't mean delivering my part in the best way possible. It means that, but also seeing myself as part of the chain, as part of the circle, that if I'm not working, that if I'm not helping also the others, then something will go wrong. So a good team member, one of the things that I would like to stress on from this list, and I'm sure you can add like tens or hundreds more, is the fifth bullet point that says owns problems and failures. For me, why is this important? Quite important for me, because I think we've been in teams, or from my experience, there's a lot of teams that have a great atmosphere. Everybody's working very, very well, but there is always someone outside of the team that is to blame. So there is always the team leader that gets the blame. That's also very, very natural. For me, the essence also of leadership is for someone to take ownership of his or her own faults and failures and say, this is what I tried my best, and I may not have reached 100%, but I'm learning through that, and let's work through it together. Let's see how you can help me also with that. I think that is a very brave sort of stand for someone to have, and that creates another atmosphere in the team where not everybody is trying to show how perfect and how great and how intelligent and expert they are in their field, but they also say, I'm trying through this. I'm not the best, but I'm in this team because I want to learn as well. And this list is not, it's not a checklist. It's not something that none of us has from the day that we start working in the team. And probably we do not have consistently 100%, 24 hours a day, and even until we have 50 years of experience behind us and we retire. This requires a continuous effort because we're human beings. We cannot be perfect and deliver all these 100% every time. But it's definitely something that we can work on, and also depend on the rest of the people in the team to actually help us. Because one of the key points of being part of a team is also to encourage giving and receiving feedback. For me, teams without some sort of friction and difficulties, let's say, I wouldn't say they're not teams. Of course, they are teams, but they haven't passed through the difficulties. Let's say they haven't reached to the depth of their relationship that they can have, and not for any other reason, but because this open communication of giving and receiving feedback can make the team, but also the individuals, much better in their work as well. Not only as human beings that cooperate and they work together, but also as individuals, as professionals. Now, giving and receiving feedback is another it's another important chapter that we're going to work that we're going to discuss in the next hour. We thought of making a stop here, especially because giving and receiving feedback will be an essential part of the module, of the course. And it's something that we don't usually, go very well with it as human beings. We're very happy to give feedback to everybody whenever we want to take the frustration out of our body. But this probably is not feedback, and it's not the best way to do that. And it's even harder for us to when we are on the other side, when we receive the feedback. Especially something that we really love and that we worked on a lot. So let's have a break, and and we talk about it in the next 45 minutes. Λοιπόν, καλώς ήρθατε. Welcome back. In the previous hour, we talked about the teams and what it means to be a good team member, and what are the stages that a team usually passes through. And one of the points that is very, very crucial for the success of a team is open communication and being able to give and receive feedback in a very positive and open atmosphere. So let's talk a little bit about what is feedback and what is a good feedback and what is considered a bad or not efficient feedback. And we'll talk about what we're going to see in the short video. It's a 2-3 minute video. We're going to talk about that a little bit afterwards. Great. So, the art of feedback. Feedback is a form of art for me. It is not something that someone knows 100% and awesomely to do in the first day that starts working with other people. It's something that requires work and a lot of feedback from other people, and let's say it's a daily practice. And there's two sides of it. It's how one can give efficient feedback, and the other one is how one can receive feedback in the best way possible. And both of them are equally important. Unfortunately, we are not very used with the second part, especially of receiving feedback in the best way, especially when it is a negative feedback. Because we're attached to what we do, we say, you know, I've spent a lot of time, I've worked on it. How can someone actually not see how awesome this is and how awesome I am? Or why doesn't appreciate someone what I've done and the effort that I've put, and they actually, you know, put me down. A lot of things have to do with the way that someone gives us feedback. As it was mentioned in the presentation, feedback needs to be given at a time, also when the other person is ready for it and is open for it. Now, if I want to tell you something and your colleague something, and I find him in a very, very tough day where he has a lot of things in his mind and deadlines, etc. Probably it's not the best day to actually share that with him, because he's probably not going to listen. He's going to be busy thinking of the deadline, the presentation, and he's going to say, you know, this is the last thing that I need today to hear. So time is very, very important. And it's not only for the person that is receiving the feedback, it's also for the person that is giving the feedback. And let's say you're 100% right and you are so angry with someone that you were supposed to work on something together, and the last moment he disappeared. Or he or she disappeared, and that made you fail your deliverable, let's say. And you go to that person, you start shouting and shouting and shouting, and I don't think that's gonna result in something that is gonna help you actually fix the situation. It's probably gonna make it worse, because you're also gonna spoil and damage the relationship that you have with that person. So time is also very important for the person that is giving the feedback. And usually a lot of emotions, especially negative emotions that are, you know, gathering in our stomach and they're trying to find a way out, that's probably not the best time to give the feedback. Apart from the timing, the content also and the objective of us giving the feedback is crucial. Feedback is not to tell someone how bad they are. It's not to criticize someone because they've done a poor job or because they have failed on something. It's only to make us feel better, us giving the feedback feel better. It's because we either want someone to continue doing what they're doing because we found it very good and we thought that was very good for the objective and for the team, or because we want someone to improve, to change behavior, to do something differently in order for the team or the project to go better. These are the only two ways, and when we keep that in mind, it also helps us focus on actually giving productive feedback, as they say. It is not enough for me to say, okay, your presentation sucked, it was not good, but I should focus my mind and say, okay, if I want that person to change something in the presentation, then I'd better be specific and say, I didn't enjoy that part of the presentation very much because I thought it was not interactive enough, for example. One way that I would suggest that could become better is if you have a couple of questions, let's say, during the presentation. So it's not only saying what you found that the person could change in order to improve, but also proposing specific solutions or discussing it with the person in order to find good solutions together. That is productive feedback. So that is one side of giving feedback. Now, and here I put some tips that you can have as a guide for giving feedback, because giving feedback also means that and giving good feedback also means that you respect the work that the other person has done, and you actually are focused enough in order to give value to the other person. And that is something that the other person realizes it. You don't need to say that, but the other person realizes it and appreciates that kind of positive or negative feedback. So one mistake that we usually do is that we say, you are a bad presenter, let's say, or you are not a good student, or you are that and that and that. So we focus a lot on the person and not on something that the person did, a behavior that he or she had, or something that did not go too well with the task that was assigned, for example. And that makes it harder for the other person to receive, to accept, because it is really hard to say to someone, you're failing right now. I don't think that's something that someone wants to hear when wakes up in the morning, nor wakes up nor goes to sleep in the night. And not judging or labeling. Also, that's something that we usually do a lot as human beings. We put people in boxes and we say, Petroula is this, Yorgos is that, Pavlos is the other, and that's it. And we make a conclusion for a person for the rest of his or her life. Feedback is nothing like that. You take a person for that moment and you say, okay, from what I see and what I saw, this is a piece of information that I can offer you, but that doesn't mean that I have the same opinion of you for the rest of our cooperation of working together. I give you this feedback now, it's valid now. It doesn't mean that it's valid tomorrow as well, and I think that you're going to be acting the same. No, you actually say we have an opportunity now to solve this and go further. Something else important is to speak plainly and clearly, and give precise feedback. Now, if somebody tells me I didn't love your assignment, I don't think that it was you put enough effort in it. Okay, great. Well, not so great, but thank you. But how does that help me afterwards? Like, how do I know what to correct? How do I know what way to go in order to actually make it better the next time? Or how do I know exactly what was that you didn't like, that you felt that it was missing, that it would help you to have a better opinion of my assignment? And a lot of people don't know how to do that. They don't want to spend time to give more information or whatever else. But it is, feedback is not something that you just write on a piece of paper and you leave it there and you say, okay, that person will understand, and if doesn't understand, then it's his or her fault. It's a dialogue, it's a communication, and it needs to end when both of the parties have understood and what they wanted to get out of that. When the one receiving the feedback knows exactly what is meant to do, review, and continue or stop doing, and the other person that was giving the feedback says, okay, this is what I had in my mind. I actually managed to put it in words, and I transmitted the message that I wanted to the other person. Mixing up thoughts and feelings also, that's something, a trap that we usually fall. Generalizing. Time is also really, really key of giving, receiving feedback as well, and focusing on the solution and providing solutions. That is one of the things that a lot of people find it pretty hard to do, because we can all spot the odd one out, We learn to do that since primary school, but we're not always the best in order to providing potentially other solutions. And someone will say, of course, I'm not the expert in this field. It's your job to do that. I'm just going to tell you what I didn't find so good or what I didn't find so effective. However, you can help the other person find the solution and find the solution together. If you don't have one, you can help him or her discuss it with them and find a better solution. Stress on the impact this has on the team and how the others perceive your work and you. Now, this is something that we usually also forget to do, this is one of the reasons why a lot of people don't understand the impact of their behavior within the team, the project, the assignment that has been set to them. Because if I'm let's say rude to someone, okay, I'm rude, I'm a negative person, whatever. I'm not, if I'm rude and I'm on my own, perfect, I don't bother anyone. But if I'm in a team and if I'm in a project team, then that's going to have an impact on the outcome and the atmosphere of the team. So I need to understand that me being rude has a very negative feedback on the team. And if I don't understand that, and I continue being rude and talking bad about people, etc., then that makes me not a good team member. That's as simple as that. Or if I'm very strong-minded and I say, this is my idea, all the other ideas are a little bit, they're okay, but they're not as good as mine. And we're gonna, even though I'm not the team leader, I'm saying, no, this is it. I don't hear anything else. Any other view, this is the best. If this is, it could be a good idea, for sure, it may also not be a good idea. And then you don't want someone, when the team decides something else, to say, oh, but I told you so. I told you that my idea would have taken that route, it would have been better, and we would have got a better mark, and we would have succeeded in this project in a much better way. We don't want, to have such people in the team, but only if you tell someone and you make them understand the impact that has on the team and how the others perceive them, then this is only perhaps what will make them change later on their attitude towards the team. Now, why is feedback so tough for all of us? Why is receiving feedback so tough? It's a love and hate relationship, as I write there, and actually because it brings in conflict two of our most basic human needs. One is that we all want to become better. If you ask everybody in this room, we will say, yes, there are elements in my personality or in the way that I work that I feel that I can learn from other people and I can become better at. But on the other hand, we also want people to accept us for what we are. That's it. It's as simple as that. And receiving feedback actually brings in conflict these two. Because on one hand, you say, what I hear is great, that's going to help me grow, but really, nobody's perfect. Accept me for who I am, with my disadvantages, my weaknesses, etc. And in order to overcome that, for me there is sort of a golden thread, a golden limit, let's say. From one side is for us to know, what we are and what are the things that we are not, what constitute our personality and our positive attributes. And the other one is to actually think and accept that the other person that is standing in front of us and giving us some feedback is not doing it for any purpose, any negative, with any negative or objective, etc., but it's actually doing it because they want to see us grow. And in order to think like that, trust is key. it's not possible for someone to accept any kind of feedback if he or she doesn't trust the intentions of the other person. If you have a fight with someone and then that person tells you your presentation sucked, then you will probably say, okay, you're telling me this because we had that fight. If you have built a relationship with the other person, where you can have such discussions, and you've probably passed a few tough, let's say, days as well, or moments with them, and if that person gives you even a hard feedback, let's say, you're going to be much more open to listening to that. So building and having a trust relationship in order to accept or to receive or give feedback is key. So within the team now, there's a few characters that we probably recognize also from the people that we've worked with in the university or in other projects, and they have names. So let's try and discuss this a little bit together. How would you manage such team members as a co-team member? So if you have someone that is always busy, can never meet for the assignments, for the projects. You say, yes, we meet at 5 o'clock in Lion Square, and something always happens at the last minute, and it's never there. That's the no commit person, right? That's a usual colleague. Do it all. Now, there is a person in the team that says, don't worry, I've got everything under control. I will do this, and when something comes up, yes, I will do that, because it's better if I do it. There's no explanation for that. That's usually the phrase, it's better if I do it, meaning because I don't trust anyone else to actually do it in the same way that I will. And the result is that person, gathers things, gathers, and gathers. Now, there is the seldom seen, it's a phantom colleague in the team that maybe does a few things here and there, makes appearances in very special situations. You don't know if he or she is part of the team or not. It's that vague situation. And there is the always right, of course, which could be a very smart, intelligent person with a lot of self-efficacy, self-confidence, with a lot of self-confidence, and says, I respect your opinion. It's a great view, but I'm right on this one, so let's go with mine. And probably not a reason to further discuss this, because my opinion is the best. And there is the quiet person in the team who will usually have a lot of valuable points to give, and is also usually speaking, will speak at a point of time, will say something, it will be like magic in the team. That is exactly the solution that the team might have been discussing for hours and hours and hours. However, it's very, very, very quiet. What's the problem with that? Well, with these kind of characters, you wonder, what would actually happen if these people could spread the magic, like 2, 3, 4 times in a meeting, and not only just one. How can we multiply the impact that they can have in the team? So how would you manage such a team member? If you're working in a team, you're in a project, and you have an open-meet person in the team, what would you do? Ideas. Have you met such a person ever? Yes? Anyone would like to share? Have you met such a person, first of all? Yes? Yeah. Would you like to? Do you have any idea what would you do? Are you such a person? No. Okay. Would you like to share how would you manage such a person? You know, I'm your team member. You have a deliverable, and I'm, you know, always on the move, always busy with something. You don't really understand what, and you have a deadline approaching.
Actually, I need the always right person.
Okay.
So actually, you need to discuss with him about his opinion and change his mind. You need to have some points, good points, to show him that it's probably not the best solution that he had.
Mm-hmm.
So you actually need a fight a little bit with this person.
So you're trying to find weaknesses, let's say, of the proposal of that person.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That's a good way. What if though, if his or her proposal is, you know, perfect in a way?
Yeah, okay, it's a perfect, okay, just do it. Let's go to do it. But if we have some other solution and the person doesn't listen and other team members, you need to, by some way, you need to prove it. So, just to show him that it's not the best way to do it.
Exactly. That's a very important point that your colleague is making, because these people usually say, you know, it's obvious, right? Like, this is the solution and it's obvious and I don't need to give a lot of explanation and reasons why. But actually having that person, you know, discussing his or her view, putting arguments, logical arguments, and finding even the negative points of it, that's a very good way to bring him or her at least in a dialogue phase, in a dialogue space where you can even find a better solution afterwards. Have you met any other of these people ever? At some point. And any do-it-all people have you met? Some people are laughing or hiding, I don't know why. All right. These, I mean, you know, the objective of this, of course, is that it's not that if we have a no can meet, do it all, seldom seen, always right, quiet person, we say, okay, bye. You know, goodbye. We don't want you in the team, done, leave forever. The point is how you can work with these people and how you can work it out with this kind of attitude, always for the best of the team and for the project. Now, can it mean that at some point a person needs to leave the team or go to another team where there is a need for such a person? It could be. But the point of being a team and being good team members is to help also each other solve through the difficulties and the weaknesses that each one of us has. You may also recognize yourself in some of them at some parts of your life, some aspects, some moments in the team experiences that you have. We've all been there, nobody's perfect, you know. For some reason, we may become the always right person or the do-it-all or the quiet person in the team. That's perfectly normal. It's a process that we go through. And the point is that there is a role that the team can play in order to help these people become more productive, more efficient, to bring their magic or their strengths for the team and for the best of the team, and leaving the negative aspects of that outside. For me, a lot of these, I mean, one common thing that a lot of these characters have, like the do-it-all and the always right or the quiet person, is it seems that there is an underlying lack of trust for some reason. Either that I trust that there is someone in the team that may have a better idea and I want to hear of it. Either that I trust that my views are going to be seen with respect and affection and love. or because I so much want to trust no one else that I want to do everything on my own and deliver and not give not delegate anything to anyone else. So good luck for the people that you're going to meet in the team that are that may show aspects or characteristics of this, and it's all part of the process. Nothing is negative or to be thrown out of the room or something like that. It's all part of working together as a team. Of course.
Maybe some people are this kind of people, and they are this kind of people for a long time, and probably have heard some criticism or some comments on their attitude a lot of times before. So what do you do in these cases?
What do you do?
You live with that situation, or?
I think what I would do is, first of all, form a trust relationship with them. Each of these persons, actually, each one of us is different. So first of all, I would try and form and build a trust relationship with them in order to be able then to give them the feedback that, I respect who you are and what you bring and the diversity that you bring to the team, but this behavior has, in the specific team, the specific time, has this specific negative impact for the team. I would talk to them about that. Because the truth is that you reach to at 40 years old and you work with people, or 35 or something, and you say, my God, this person has never received a feedback by anyone in their career. Yes, you may think, okay, it's my job to do it. Like, I have other things in my mind. Should I play the Samaritan role, let's say, and give that person a feedback in order to become better? You can think that, or you can also think that as a member of the team, it's also part of your responsibility to actually help the other person develop, as you would expect the others to give you feedback in order to help you grow. So, trust relationship, and then giving feedback in a mode and in a way that we know that it's going to be efficient as well. I will give a different feedback to a friend that I know for 2 months and a colleague that I know for 1 or 2 years. Also because I know what would make the other person tick and be more impactful, right? For the specific person. So in order now to close it, I want us to look at this, which is also in the course's website, where you can find it. It's a talk by Koi Tu, who is a guru in team management and in team building. He's worked with big companies like Coca-Cola, UPS, Hewlett-Packard, etc. But he's also coached individuals and teams that work with strong individuals or are in a very, let's say, stressful situation, like Jamie Oliver. Well, Jamie Oliver not in the stressful situation, but he's worked with Jamie Oliver and the teams in Formula One. So he's one of the people that I think has some very interesting points about what makes a team a super team, what makes a team perform in the best way possible, and then what makes teams like Lucy. And he brings some interesting examples from the business as well, and from people that we all admire and love for what they do, like Steve Jobs. So let's have a look at it, and we quickly come back to it afterwards.
It works now.
No.
believes in indefinite growth on a physically finite planet is either mad or an economist.
We don't want to focus politics on a notion that involves the rejection of principles around which a large majority of our fellow citizens organize their lives.
We are not as endlessly manipulable and as predictable as you would think.
I guess a lot of people here will work in a team, and just quick show of hands if you spend a lot of your time working as part of a team. So kind of almost everyone puts their hand up. And I suppose for me that's the fascinating thing. We all work as a part of a team. We would mostly say that teams are essential. The work that the RSA Fellows do, solving some of the most complex challenges in the world, require collective action. So we know teams are everywhere. We also know that they're fundamental. And yet the gap between working in a team and a team that works well seems to grow ever larger. The starting point of great teams is great individuals. And there's probably been no greater individual, certainly in the world of business, in our generation than Steve Jobs. Great individuals are the building blocks of great teams. He was famed for his leadership style, something I think Isaacson called management by character assassination. He would regularly berate his team members with the term bozo, and if you forgive his Californian vocabulary, shitheads who suck. The truth is that he fell out with everyone that he worked with. He fell out with Steve Wozniak, who he founded the company with. He'd recruited John Scully from Pepsi with the challenge, you can sell sugared water for the rest of your life, or you can come and change the world. But he fell out with John Scully, the CEO who he'd recruited. And in '85, he famously found himself forced out from the company he had founded. Despite his vision, despite his obsession with user experience and the elegance of simplicity, he was on his own, unable to execute. So being fired from the company you founded probably is one of the most painful experiences you can have. It taught him the lesson of leadership the hard way. It taught him that teams may be necessary to achieve greatness. Being inspired by Pixar, the company he founded after he left Apple, was equally as powerful a lesson for him. He bought Pixar as the graphics division from LucasArts. Jobs bought three people, effectively, John Lasseter, Ed Catmull, and a guy called Albie Ray Smith. And Jobs bought that company with a view, in many respects similar to the view he'd had at Apple, that the hardware and software that Pixar was creating would one day democratize technology, that it would be tools for geniuses. But actually, the team's vision was different. They wanted to inherit Disney's legacy for the digital age. They wanted to make movies, computer-generated animation. And it took one movie in particular to really shape and refocus Steve Jobs' reality distortion field. It was a film called Luxo Jr. And these films were only made to advertise the software and hardware that Jobs had invested in. But Luxo Jr. is an incredible story. It's a story about two standard lamps, a father and a son. And in watching it, the light went on, not only on the screen, but also in Jobs' mind. He had understood that the future of the firm lay in that movie business. They've done 12 movies, no flops, which is incredible in a hit-related business, and won 26, 27 Oscars. But the beginning came from Jobs' realization and admission that he was wrong. Imagine that. The most unreasonable man on the planet admitting that he was wrong. But more powerfully even than that, he admitted that the team was right. What Jobs had discovered was that the myth of the sole hero is just that, it's a myth. If you want to achieve greatness, if you want to accomplish the unreasonable, then perhaps you need collective action. Individuals matter, certainly, but they need to be amplified and organized through a team. I guess one of the principal challenges of teamwork, though, is when you combine very unreasonable people together. The Rolling Stones, at this point, I think, have played to more people in more places than any other band in the world. Their success, in many respects, comes from the similarities, but perhaps even more so, the differences between them. Jagger is famously the lead singer, but he also loves taking the lead off the stage as well. He's the CEO of the band. It was him that brought in the banker, Prince Rupert Lowenstein, who re-engineered their business model. I think the last three tours of the Stones have generated in the region of $1.6, $1.7 billion. On the other hand, you've got someone like Keith, who doesn't plan, who famously says he's happy just to wake up in the morning, and focuses a lot of his time now on the pleasure of breathing. Mick writes a song with an end point in mind. Keith doesn't live his life with any point in mind. He just lives it. He's much looser. In his own words, Mick is rock and he is roll. They're very different. But it's that difference that creates the magic. The magic is in the mix. It's the creative abrasion between those two conflicting personalities that actually generates a lot of the energy that the Stones have. But the seeds of that creativity are also the ingredients that can split the band apart. You know, most bands last maybe one album. Some bands only last one hit. But this is a group that played at the highest level of performance for 50 years. So what is it that keeps them together, despite the fact they have sparks that fly very often? And one of the starting points, I suppose, is the other band members. Ronnie Wood, the new boy, despite having been there for an exceedingly long time, is very different again from the other two. He's the harmonizer. He's the mediator. Often with the instincts of a veteran peace negotiator, he's the one that's got the two back together and talking. Charlie Watts is different again. He is steady, stoical. He's the only one of the Stones who stayed with the same partner for the whole of his life, the whole of his career, a woman he met before they were famous. When the others are out doing their tours in rock and roll shenanigans, Charlie draws every single hotel room he has stayed in. Quite a different character. The backbeat, the solid and the steady. And that combination, again, helps diffuse some of the drama between Keith and Mick. And cohesion initially comes from spending time together. The band, in their early days, spent all of their time together. They lived together. They shared the back of their van with their instruments on tour. They even shared a few girlfriends. But today, the reason that they have cohesion, after all those years of familiarity, perhaps breeding contempt, is the space they spend apart. The team now only forms when it has to, only when there is a true purpose for it being together, and that purpose is either writing or touring. Otherwise, they retreat to their Caribbean hideaways or their French chateaux. So the team only comes together when it has to. The final reason I think the Stones have stayed together, and it's a powerful one that I'll come on to a bit more, is the notion of common purpose. This is a group that has a declared intention, a compelling motivation to be the greatest rock and roll band in the world. In the 80s, when Mick tried to go solo, for me, I think it offered him a visceral reminder that to achieve his own personal ambitions, fame, celebrity, stardom, playing to the biggest audiences in the world, was only achievable through the Stones. Teamwork often works only because for the individual, the alternative is worse. It has to offer its members the best means of achieving their own ambitions. And talking of compelling purpose, in some respects, there's no purpose that I found more compelling than that of the Red Cross. Saving lives, changing minds. When the Haiti earthquake struck in 2010, it killed 200,000 people. It injured a further 300,000 and made homeless over 1.5 million. Haiti is one of the poorest countries in the Western Hemisphere. And when that earthquake struck, and it struck in its urban center of Port-au-Prince, its effect was devastating. Absolute carnage. You had the Haitians on the ground, on the front line, responding immediately to the distress of their peers. You equally had people flying in from all over the world. 50 different Red Cross national societies went to the rescue. But it was actually a little old lady in Wimbledon High Street at a Red Cross shop, who for me gave me the most profound insight as to the power of purpose for a team. When I asked her what she did and why she did it, she said very simply, each item of clothing that I collect, each item of clothing that I sell, no matter how big or small, actually is saving lives. She saw herself as part of something bigger than she was. She saw herself contributing to something that had purpose and meaning. And great teams are motivated by a compelling and common purpose. It's like a North Star around which everyone can navigate to. It stops the situation where when you shout go, everyone running in different directions. It convenes you, it aligns you, and it pulls you forward in the same direction. Perhaps in addition to common purpose, in addition to the cohesion of teams, one of the most practical and interesting insights that I discovered in all of the teams I looked at is the idea that actually no one and no team can get better without practice. A Formula One team, and this is the Ferrari team with Michael Schumacher from about 1998, 99, I think it might be. A team like this of 20 mechanics will practice a pit stop probably 2,000 times a season. What's interesting is the science and rigor around which they designed and choreographed that interplay between the different parties. It's something that they applied successfully in Formula One, but actually, more remarkably, they also took to Great Ormond Street Hospital. Working alongside the cardiac intensive care unit, re-engineering the handover process post-operations, the same principles of rigorous design, of defining together what's the best way of us collaborating, and then practicing it over and over and over again. It turns out that team excellence is a learned habit. The protocols of performance that generate enormous and incredible success with some of the teams I've looked at are not things that happen by chance. They happen by design and by deliberate practice. One of the most powerful of those, and I'll return to Pixar, is called the Brain Trust. It's a protocol that I really like because it merges both the individual input but also the collective output. One of the things they do for every movie is the director and the producer convene a group of 8 of the best people at Pixar. And what they do is have an incredibly brutal and honest discussion in order to create the best movie possible. But it's the rules of engagement of that meeting that make it work. The director and producer do not have to take or accept, they can ignore completely any single one of the notes and comments and pieces of advice that the others give them. And why is that powerful? That's powerful because it means they can let go of their defensiveness. They can open their arms and hear these ideas for what they are. It also liberates the other people in the team to be honest, to say what they think, to not to be too sensitive, but to let the needs of the movie dictate their comments. What they've achieved is a democracy of ideas and a dictatorship of decisions. It avoids a movie being made by committee, the tyranny of the individual. You can't have a great team without great individuals. That's inescapably true. The problem is, most great individuals are also the most unreasonable. So you have to figure out of helping them cohabit, help them figure out how to help them collaborate. Teams need to work on building cohesion, on mastering conflict, so that the creative abrasion ensures the sparks fly, but don't burn the whole house down. Great teams need to have a common purpose. They need to have a singular idea, a navigatable North Star, that connects in a line of sight individual motivations to collective action. The team has got to be the best way for me to achieve my personal ambitions. Great teams don't happen by accident. They happen by design and by deliberate practice. So if we really want to address some of the most complex and challenging problems that society faces, if we want to close the gap between today's reality and the hopes that people hold for a better world, perhaps the best place for us to start is by practicing. Thank you very much.
I mean, do you believe there's an optimum size, or?
Okay. So, there is a Q&A that you can also check online and have a look at it. There is 2-3 minutes. So, let's close this. Apart from me thanking you for today, I think one of the few things that we can keep in mind is that great teams have to do with, first of all, great individuals that find the benefit in actually working in a team. There is a common purpose that the team needs to have and work towards it and practice it and work hard towards it. Have open communication and trust, love what they do and have fun with it. And for me, another very important element is diversity. And that has to do with respecting everybody with our Karagianni. I don't know how to say that in English, with our weaknesses and our strong points and the things that makes us, and help each other develop through this experience. Teams are like nature, where you have very different flowers and herbs and trees, etc., but that they learn to live together and help each other develop. It's an everyday practice. It's an everyday work, a job that each one of us can and has to do for the rest of our lives, to work together. So all the best to your team, to your teams for the rest of the course, and thank you very much for today. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Petroula, for the great lecture. We are 5 minutes over time. Just 2 quick announcements. First of all, if you have any preferences, talking about teams, if you have any preferences with respect to the teammates you would like to be in the design challenge teams that we have, that we will build, please send your preferences to Tolda by Wednesday. Tolda on Moodle, or like talk to him directly about it. We will try to we will form teams of 5 to 6 people for the design challenge. We will try to respect and ideally, hopefully, meet all the preferences you have, and then we'll take into account the preferences to form the final teams. Okay, this is the first announcement. The teams, we will probably finish the formation probably by the end of the week. So next Monday, that the inspiration phase starts on the design challenge. We will know which will be the teams. Okay, this is the one announcement. Second announcement, if you haven't reserved a paper yet on the Google Docs, please go ahead and reserve one. I know that there are 2-3 papers still left, so we need to fill out all the remaining papers, and I think it seems that how many of you haven't reserved a paper yet? So 1, 2, 3. And you and your colleague, right? Or you did reserve? Okay. So, and you all need a long paper, right? Long paper. I think we have 2 long papers now left. We have 3. Okay, so guys, please go ahead and book them. All right. Okay, thank you, and have a great day.